biggies cause I'm off to the hole in the road. I'm walking off school and I'm off to the city, watching telly all night and I'm not looking pretty. See, I got this job downtown, selling knocked off ladies watches for £1. For a really dodgy man that I met in a dodgy cafe. You know, he said to me, the girl who sold these yesterday wasn't selling very carefully. Police came along and took her and all my watches away. So if you see some coppers, you grab my stuff and leg it, boy, right away. I'll be in the cafe. I'm just a boy from Sheffield, making his way through life. I'm just a boy from Sheffield, making his way. I'm just a boy from Sheffield, making his way through life. I'm just a boy from Sheffield, making his way. So it's been a few hours and I haven't sold enough for my bus fare home. Street sell is pretty tough, so I turn on the charm for the lunchtime rush with a smile and a wiggle on my schoolboy touch. So the charm is working in the underground. There's a crowd of men and women gather round, and the watches they are going, the money is a flowing. Think I'll take a little extra, stick it in my pocket, spend you later. I'm just a boy from Sheffield, making his way through life. I'm just a boy from Sheffield, making his way. I'm just a boy from Sheffield, making his way through life. I'm just a boy from Sheffield, making his way. I haven't sold a watch for an hour and I'm dying for a slash. I've had enough of this, so I'm off for a piss. Then a quick walk back round to the cafe. Sitting at his table drinking tea, looks at me suspiciously. Then with a glance at the watch he says, how did you do? He paid me a couple of quid, then he said, would you like to come and work another day? I said I'd come back down on Friday, and to that he said okay. So with £2 in my pocket and another 5 in my shoe, I nipped down to Castle Market where a man who looks like Leo Sayer is selling pots with cockles and prawns. You make me feel like dancing. Then off back to dinner on the Wiggers and then home. I'm just a boy from Sheffield, making his way. I'm just a boy from Sheffield, making his way. I'm just a boy from Sheffield, making his way. I'm just a boy from Sheffield, making his way. I'm just a boy from Sheffield, making his way. I'm just a boy from Sheffield, making his way. I'm just a boy from Sheffield, making his way. I'm just a boy from Sheffield, making his way. I'm just a boy from Sheffield, making his way. I'm just a boy.
No, but I got to go here. I meant to go. Good evening and welcome to Raconteurs News on a Tuesday evening. It is the 8th of November 2022, and I hope that this weekend all your pets and all your animals were safe and sound and you get caught by all the fireworks and the crowd. Are you belching there, Jimmy?
Duh, you'll know it when I am.
Yeah, there you go. So I can't even remember what I was saying then. But anyway, it's 2020. So I hope your pets were okay.
Your pets, yeah.
Yeah, he were okay. He weren't. Although he did go out for a shit. He wanted to go out for a shit right in the middle of it all, and when he went out in the garden, he were halfway, and then somebody over back. He were halfway having a shit, and somebody over back decided that was the time that the loudest fireworks could go off, and so it went off, a big explosion, and he sat and he just stopped off mid shit and came in. So we had to clean him up. We had to wipe his house and all that sort of thing. So, but not so much damage. I had to clean with my fingers under my fingernails afterwards, But never mind. Good evening to everybody in the chat room as well. Everybody listening, I hope you're well. I sounded like Wigan Joker, didn't I? I hope you're well. Are you well?
It's Wigan in.
JJ, Sean Hamer, Matt Caddy, Elf Freedom UK. That's Robert. Good evening, Robert. Dinny's in there as well. Donna, Caddy, as well as Matt. And there was somebody else I wanted to just mention. Oh, there we go. Nick GB as well. With his Birmingham City badge. Good evening to you. I didn't know you were Birmingham, but I didn't know you were a blue nose. Evening to JJ as well, and all the people who are listening that aren't taking part in the chat. That's no problem. You're most welcome. I hope you've had a good week. How are you, Jimmy? I've got Jimmy with me as usual. How are you, mate?
I'm good. I spotted Robert in there. He said that there was an echo coming from me. Is that true?
Yeah, it was from me, I think.
Okay.
It was when I was playing the music. It was coming through, and my microphone was still on, so you could hear it.
Okay. No, that's fine. Yeah, no, I'm in great form, Jay, and I can tell by you you're looking in much better form as well too. And I'm just getting over a seriously bad buzz after a heavy drinking session with my brother and family over the last number of days. They're still here, but they're all leaving in the morning. So, but it was fun while it lasted. So I had a great time away, and thanks for holding the fort on Friday.
No, listen, mate, no problem. It's I had a good time. I hope you had a good time, and you were enjoying time with your family and friends. It's something that you've got to do, innit? You've got to really do. Apparently there's a big difference in volume in our microphones. I don't know who's louder. I think you might be louder, actually. I don't know it's fine now, says Robert. Anyway, we've got a guest tonight, mate. Got a guest. It's Neil. Neil's been a listener to Raconteurs News on and off for the last few years, quite a while. The first time I got in touch with Neil, Neil got in touch with me and we spoke to each other. Were a number of years ago, and then we had a couple of hours together yesterday, had a chat, and he's on here today. So good evening, Neil. How are you?
Good evening, sir. I'm very well, thank you. Thanks for having me on. It's a real pleasure. It's an honour. I've watched so many shows with so many top guests with you. So thanks very much.
No problem at all, mate. No problem at all. We were having a good chat yesterday. Can you just give people some of your background, whatever, as far as you want to go, deep as you want to go into that?
No, it's fine.
So, give some of your background.
Yeah, and it's something, again, that Jimmy was touching upon a couple of weeks ago with uni and saying, where are people with a professional background? We never get to hear from them. And so I had a 29-year career in dentistry. I was a general dental division here in this country. And it's been a process of tunneling out of that for the past probably 3 years. I had come to my conclusions about the greater conspiracy probably back in 2006 or 7, somewhere around there. And at the time, it was very awkward because I had committed to quite a lot of borrowing. So this was to try and take the practice further, and we'd bought new premises, and so I was in quite a financial hole, and there was no possibility of me actually making any sort of an exit then. And then we had the crash of 2008, and things got very hard. It was tough to keep going, but kept my head down, and then we got to a stage where, unfortunately, my wife became ill. I've been married very happily for the last 26 years to Debs, and we
Well done.
we were doing okay, but it was certainly hard. It was tough on everybody, as we all remember. So, well, unfortunately, my wife became ill, and she's been suffering with fibromyalgia for the past 7 years or so. So she has good days and bad days, but she's on a lot of painkillers most of the time. And I'd reached the conclusion then that it was going to be too much for me to carry on going through the professional career for the next 10 years or so, or however many years God blessed me with to go through that. So I decided then that it would be the time to go. And plus, the other thing was I could foresee, I didn't take any foresight really, to see that 10 years of a cycle of economic doom is fairly typical. These things tend to come in about 10-year sweeps, or have done certainly through my lifetime and my wife's lifetime. So there was something coming. We weren't sure what, and we said, well, no, it's from my point of view, it seems better to try and take the other path, whatever that might hold now, and just put best foot forward and say, no, do something different and something positive. Do something very positive at the time, because I've still got an awful lot to give, and it's not going to be to how shall we put this? A profession that I certainly couldn't continue in. Let's put it like that, for the reasons that we've had over the past few years. Obviously, I knew what was going on, and if you're in that position, you are trapped. You can't really speak out without, being accused of heresy. There would have been. I don't think I'd have achieved anything very much if I had made the stand then, even if I was in the position to have done so, because we were already in the position that I was exiting the profession, and I couldn't have done anything meaningful if I had done and taken a stand then. So I decided, no, the best thing to do is just get into a position where at least I can be strong, and then we can do something positive and try and make a difference.
And I mean, this is quite a long time ago as well, and it's long before any of the shenanigans that we've had the last couple of years, isn't it? This is way below. I'm assuming that when that came along, that also put barriers up as well, because there were new regulations to be able to continue in the profession. So those as well alongside alongside everything that's been going on.
Yes, there's been a steady sort of in every profession. I don't think it's just in medical professions, but I think people recognise the compliance culture. You all the time having to tick more boxes just to continue doing what you've done before, without any real evidence that it's making a constructive difference to what you're doing. I think it's fair to say. A lot more legislation passed without any real benefit to anybody except the people passing legislation.
That sounds very familiar. Sorry, Jay, but regarding you're talking about the requirements to keep upskilling, because I've noticed with a lot of people who are in the professional line, especially people who say, for example, who do driving even for a career, that they're constantly having to do these courses every goddamn year, and it's costing them a goddamn fortune just to what they don't even know what it's just to comply. It's crazy. So it was the same in dentistry then. Is that what you're saying?
That's right. Yeah. Since the Care Quality Commission came in, it's been a steady sort of increase on. You can say that some of it is definitely justifiable, that it's going to increase the awareness of a lot of these things that you need to be compliant of. But in terms of the cost to be compliant, the financial cost to be compliant is increasing all the time, and there's never a point at which you can say that's enough. That seems to be good enough.
Yeah, because there's no clear exit out, is there? Because, like, you can choose not to be compliant, but yeah, you'll probably end up losing your license to practice anyway. Like, even though you may not be learning anything new, all this, like, I used to know it was the same too with the Safe Pass courses. Like, you have to do the Safe Pass courses every 3 to 4 years, right? You're not learning anything new. You got to go and spend a whole day just being bored stupid and looking at the people around you, and they're looking at you with the same befuddled expression. What the fuck are we doing here? It's oh man.
So in your professional life, Neil, did you encounter anybody that was of the same, that knew pretty much the same as you, that was of the same mindset, or was everybody? Do you think there's people that perhaps were, but nobody ever said anything because they didn't want to put the elbow in the parapet?
Exactly, that's exactly it. Yeah, because you knew what what the consequences would have been. There's one or two people who I've been able to spot on various forums who definitely got an inkling of. Or more than an inkling of what's going on in the sort of in the wider world, and talking about the sort of stuff that we talk about on Raconteurs News with false flag terror events and all the rest of it. Everybody, there's certainly people who are aware of those and other things that we've been lied to about. But I think there's people who otherwise would grumble about things but would never speak out openly. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, someone says crank my mic level. Let me just see if I can do that. I'll just turn gain up just a little bit. How is that? Is that any better?
You're sounding okay to me, Jay, but I don't know. Maybe the rest of us are just loud, because I did increase my audio levels there a little bit earlier on because I'm still refining my settings. But so maybe you're now lower than the rest of us. So that could be.
I think that's probably the longest settings refinement that anybody's ever done, because it's took you about 3 weeks so far.
Well, I tell you what, it's taken longer. I've been working on this since I started coming onto your show, Jay. It's been, look, I'm not going to go into it now. We could do a whole fucking series on it.
Well, I'll just have a quick look at my settings. Someone says that I'm a bit low. I can't see why I'm a bit low.
So come here. Did you hang around? Like, do you have dentistry forums, and would that be the type of forum that you would hang out in, like where you'd be talking with other professionals who on the same topic as yourself, Neil?
Yeah, there are. Yeah, there are dental forums. Yeah.
Okay, the parties must be really good on the dental forums.
Yeah, it's a real thing. Yeah.
I think we'll find, Jimmy, you need to just turn yours down a little bit, mate. I think that's what it is. I think it's just a bit of an imbalance.
Okay, yeah, don't worry about it. I will deal with that presently. I'll drop that down about 2 dB, and maybe that'll make a bit of a difference. And so, let's try that.
That's better. Right. So what? Just give us some idea of you had to go through quite a lot to be able to get out of dentistry. I mean, it's not just like somewhere where you just decide in the morning. Especially the position you were in, you can't just wake up one morning and think, "Oh, I'm sick of looking in people's mouths. I'm going to do something else." It's a lot more difficult than that. It took you quite a long time, didn't it? Because when I first spoke to you, which must be sort of 2016 or 17, right around that time, you were going through it then. So it's quite a long process. It took you quite a long time, didn't it?
Oh yeah, because and again I'd thought about it around that time, and then thought probably not the right time just yet, but. When I got to 2018 and had definitely committed, then it was going to be a matter of selling. I was in a partnership, so I was going to have to sell a business, sell a property, and the business as a going concern, and it takes a long time. We found buyers, and the buyers people put in offers, and then they changed their minds, and then just at the point when we'd had an offer, the pandemic started, and then we were locked down. So things just seemed to take an age after that, and it does take a long time because it's not a simple business to put a value on. There's sort of so many different factors and so many different legal components. So yeah, it takes a long time. But I'm glad to say it's found some excellent buyers, and I'm still in touch with the practice and the staff there. So I like to keep friendly with everybody there. So it's all going well now. But yeah, it took a long time. Certainly, it's a big job to do, and stressful.
This was bound to happen, right? This was absolutely bound to happen, and I think it was bound to also come from the source that it's come from. But I've just had a text message of Super Leeds. His missus must have said he'll be listening. Good evening, Super Leeds. Hope you're all right. Okay, mate.
Oh, right.
See you this week.
Leeds.
So, yeah. But he sent a text message, and I knew this is what somebody would do. And I thought to myself, oh, this is just gonna. I don't want to piss him off or anything, but I'm going to ask you because it's Super Leeds and he's a bit of an institution. In fact, he should be in one. He says, "Can you ask his opinion on root canals?"
Good question.
Yeah, I mean, that's the only dental question I'm going to ask. And it's because Super Leeds asked it. And if you don't want to answer that, that's perfectly fine.
No, it's fine. I can talk. I mean, and what's the question? And that's the first thing. What do we want to know?
I don't know. What do you think about root canals? I mean,
Can I fill in the gaps here, maybe, because there's a lot of talk on the web that root canals are a very, very bad idea, and that sometimes because of the way that the nerves run in the inside of the gums, the root canal goes along the inside of the gums, and that if you disrupt those root canals, they can have detrimental effects. I guess that's what he's asking. I'm just guessing, because from what I think I know, but.
No. I understand where you're coming from, and the sort of question that I used to get asked all the time was, "Is it safe?" It's like the classic dental thing to ask from marathon man, isn't it? Is it safe? Are they safe? The times that it depends on the timing. If the tooth itself was relatively healthy, or even sometimes if it was still alive when it was first treated, because sometimes root canals are performed electively as part of restoring something. You might choose to do that to actually treat a tooth and root fill the tooth, even if it was a healthy tooth, if that's what somebody wanted to do, and that it should be safe because there's no sign of any infection in the tooth at that time. If the tooth is grossly infected before it's root treated, then gradually the whole procedure becomes more and more risky because you might be leaving behind something. It's impossible to 100% sterilize the tooth that's infected, but you should be able to get it 99.9% disinfected, or certainly so much so that the body would heal from any inherent lesion that was any lesion that was left behind after the root canal. But the problem is if it hasn't been done thoroughly enough, and you leave behind infection in the tooth, and unfortunately that's happened on a number of times, and so you can leave infection that actually then gets into your bones, and it's not good.
No, it's not actually.
For this evening.
And it's almost like because tooth problem can also be life threatening, if you're not careful with it, and so interesting. I didn't know that, and I wouldn't be a big conspiracy dude on root canals, but I was aware of some of the issues, but just not. But that's interesting. Thanks for that.
No worries.
Yeah, thanks for that, Neil. Next, anybody else? No, let's not. Definitely.
Damn good question. I mean, when you got a dentist online, you got to ask him what's the story, lad? What's the story?
Oh dear me. Gargle with bicarbonate of soda, colloidal silver, then coconut oil, says Jerry, son of Mick. That's quite a lot to gargle with. Quite a mix in the morning. So you've decided you're going to get out of the practice. Did you, whilst the practice was on the market, were you having to work then? I'm
Yeah.
assuming you were working because, I mean, that's two jobs then, isn't it? Because trying to sell the practice is a job in itself.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
But I suppose you get people experts in on that. So you were practicing as a dentist, and and now you've got rid of that. So what are your plans for what's coming up, the future?
It's a blank canvas really at the moment. I'm looking after my wife. Obviously, that's the main thing because she does take a lot of looking after, a lot of care. There's a lot of running around to do, making sure that she's okay. She's not really able to do that most days of the week, so I'm her full-time carer, and I've got two boys here with me as well, so I'm looking after them partially. There's some they can look after themselves pretty well, though now. So no, I'm looking for opportunities, but as I was sort of losing that thread with dentistry, I became very enthusiastic regarding what I'm going to talk about tonight. It wasn't something I was looking to do at all. It was I came at it with the attitude of a prepper really to begin with, thinking I don't understand this crypto business at all. I'd looked at it a few years ago and thought, sounds like a trap to me. It looks like it could be something that we're going to get ushered towards or nudged towards, or they could engineer something to try and make us put us in a position where we're going to have to use this stuff. So I'd rather know about it, or at least have a working knowledge of it before that day ever arrives. So I started looking at the various aspects of it and found something that completely changed my mind. I've done a complete 180 on the possibilities now, and so I spend a lot of my time talking with members of the community that I'm going to talk about tonight, if that's okay.
Yeah, that's fine. Yeah, I mean that's let's get on to that. Right,
Yeah.
not financial advice.
No, not at all. No, it's all something I wanted to present as information to people who I think would be able to digest it and look at it with different eyes and think, well, perhaps I can get past my gag reflex when it comes to talking about crypto, because I know there's a lot of that. A lot of people just completely do not want to look at it, and this might just change your mind, or might just at least give you a different perspective on it. And that was my only intention, really.
Okay, well, we had a chat yesterday, and I've had a look at one or two things, and I went onto the website today to have a quick look as well, and I got confused when it were telling me what when I was looking at instructions, there were some like lines of code and stuff like that, and I just had no idea what they were. It's going to take I've just stumbled across it, so. When I sit down to look at it, it might sink in. So just tell us about what you found and the thing that you've been talking about, that you say this community. Tell us about the community and tell us about this idea.
Okay. Well, I'm talking about is something called Epic Cash, and the Epic Cash community I came across probably about a year ago, maybe getting on probably 18 months or so ago now. And it's a community crypto project. There is no company there, so it's not like I'm working for them or anything, or get paid. It's purely something that we're trying to do as a community and launch from the grassroots upwards. And there are some significant obstacles there, which that I've encountered, because there is a definite mainstream media in terms of cryptocurrencies now. People who have the bigger channels promoting various crypto assets all are basically wanting to be paid to do so. I mean, nothing wrong with that, but they will not entertain the idea of a crypto project, no matter how useful it is and how much utility there is. Unless they, you're going to have to stump up a lot of money to get noticed. So we're waving our arms around and shouting, we're a community and we've got a good project here, we've got a really good idea. was trying to shout as loud as possible to anybody that will listen, and not many people want to listen at the moment. So again, I'm doubly appreciative of that. At least you've given me the opportunity to come and talk to you guys.
Well, I'm always interested in new ideas and stuff, and what you're telling me, just get some idea of what this is, how it works, and how it's different to other things. Because you were telling me it's pretty much similar to Bitcoin, but it's the same idea, but it's executed differently.
Yeah. Okay.
It's actually the same. But if I'm not mistaken, right? I've done a good bit of reading today about it. So it's actually It's designed as an improvement to Bitcoin, and especially upon the scalability and the size of the speed for a start, plus the scalability. If I'm not mistaken, now I'll let you run with that. But that's a little bit of the reading that I was doing on it. Thus far, so perhaps Neil, you could improve on what I've just said.
Yeah, sure. Am I able to share this screen here? I've got another screen to my right here.
Sure.
To do that?
Share that screen.
Or I can bring that over. I mean, if
you bring it over and then just do a share screen. By the way, my mic, I went wrong mic, so that's why it was using the default one on this laptop rather than this one.
Oh, right.
Changed it, so if it sounds better, just let me know if it sounds better or it sounds worse. Or turn it back to its original setting. So
I was looking at one of the really old videos from Epic Cash, and I was a little bit dismayed by one of the advertisements, because one of the programs was probably the second program that was made, and they were going through the benefits and the pros and the cons of Bitcoin Cash, and then it sort of the camera zoomed over to this poor African woman, right? And I was just thinking, why would you do that? Why would you do that? It says, we're doing it for this poor woman here in Africa, right? I was just thinking, nah, don't do that. Don't do that. It was
I don't follow you. In what sense? What was wrong?
There was the video about and it was a very, very professionally well done video, right? About
another one. Yeah.
Do you know the one? And then it cuts to the African woman, right? And then this is why we're doing it, and it's so professionally made, and we just said, no, don't do that. Just don't do that. Because that's what BBC do, or that's just
it's too cliched. It was a cliche. Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? It's like how
I take your point. It's certainly not what the intention was, because let's say we work in with a lot of people in Africa, because a lot of people haven't been able to have access to a banking system at all, or any financial system, because they're not able to get that that facility. Whereas because we are completely decentralized, at least people can mine without any connection to any financial grid, and then they can sell that epic that they mine. So it does,
and even with just a mobile phone, we will be able
to. That's coming. I say, because we're a community project, we haven't got everything ready to go straight away now. We've only launched in 2019, so things are ongoing. But we can mine on gaming PC and laptop. But it will be available for mobile phone later on. Yeah, soon, coming soon.
Okay.
So I've got a presentation on my screen here, Jason. Is that working? Or
no? If you click down at is it present?
Present, yeah.
Your screen, and then it'll pop up and it'll give you, if you put Chrome tab or whatever you were using, whatever tab you're using, it will share that, and I can then stick it on. This is brilliant. You're listening to Raconteurs News.
That one I've clicked on.
Oh, by the way, Jimmy, you're a little bit loud. You're right blasting. Right.
Well, do you know what? I'm glad for a change, but I'll tell you what, at least next time I'm on with Robert alone, at least I'll be able to fucking boom him. I don't give a fuck. I've always been the what's the underdog here when it comes to audio levels, but Those days are done. The gloves are coming off.
Yeah. Can you turn it down a bit, though?
I can, yeah. Of course I can. Yeah. I'll drop it down another dB, and no, actually we'll go to -2, and hopefully that'll be okay.
All right, Neil, what we're looking at here?
Yeah, as I say, we're all familiar with what the threats are that they keep on promising us. The ECB and all the other central banks making noises about the CBDCs coming in and what they might mean in terms of control and what they allow us to do and what they don't allow us to do.
Central bank digital
Central bank digital currencies.
Right.
As the headline here says, ECB expects to complete the investigation phase of the digital euro project in the autumn of 23. So that may or may not be true. We don't really know how far on they are with their planning, but they claim that it's going to be sometime next year, or they might think about doing it sometime next year. We don't really know. And there's another one here from the Bundesbank. There was a meeting in May of this year talking about the same thing, the acceptance and adoption challenge, which means that they're not really that confident that we would accept a CBDC, even if one was forced upon us. In other words, it's in times of there's evidence where countries have tried to install these things and failed because they were still being basically set up in the same way as the fiat system that had already failed was, so that there was still the possibility of inflation with the CBDC, and so people start looking for alternative methods of currency in countries where currencies have already failed. So they're not really that confident that people would accept it, and the thought then occurs that, well, what would happen if we did have a better system of currency, a more purer form of money, really, than the CBDC before they actually had a chance to roll it out. So there's a possibility there that we could actually find a chink in their armour. Because if you could find something that people liked and could be used and was private and was safe and all the rest of it, then there's no reason why we couldn't actually adopt something like that. If we consider what we have at the moment with our fiat money, I just thought it's useful to go through this terminology, because it does keep coming up, and I don't know really how much people are familiar with these terms. Come up in crypto all the time. But obviously what we have at the moment...
I think it's best to treat everybody in the chat as like there'd be some people who know, and a lot of people who just don't know a huge amount about it, and probably a certain amount that don't know anything. So it's always good, like to keep these terms going. Yeah, absolutely.
So the system of money that we use at the moment basically is centralized. We have a central bank, and even when we perform a transaction at the shops, we have to use a node, effectively, which is the bank. We are the user, and we use the bank's technology to transfer money to the end user, the receiver. So we have a centralized system at the moment. There are some currencies that claim to be decentralized that aren't really decentralized, and the example here is Bitcoin, because Bitcoin isn't really being used as a cryptocurrency. It was touted as being one, and the original white paper describes that that's what it was intended to be. However, over time, Bitcoin has been subverted, really, so that it's not being used as a cryptocurrency. It's an asset, and it's probably going to function as a store of value for some time, but it's never really been established as a currency. And part of the problem that you have with Bitcoin is it is a large blockchain, talking 400 gigabytes plus. So to try and transfer that is not easy. And so when we actually transfer Bitcoin from one person to another, it has to go through a node, unless you happen to be running one yourself, but it does take quite a lot of computing power to run a node. So, but more often than not, and the vast majority of Bitcoin transactions are actually aren't occurring as a currency. They're being transferred on exchanges, between accounts on exchanges. Although the Bitcoin maximalist would have it that with the Lightning Network, it will become the currency that it was supposed to be. But part of the problem, as I see it, is that it's as it's not private, you don't really know who the nodes are that you're ever going to be going through. And in any case, all the transactions are transparent on the blockchain with Bitcoin. So it's that becomes significant when you consider things like what happened with the Canadian truckers this year. The crypto transactions can and will be censored based on your off-chain activities. They tried to. I think I've got a slide of that somewhere, haven't I? Sorry.
Can I just interject here for a second, Neil?
Sorry,
because we're probably going over people's heads here now about the aspects of the privacy with, say, Bitcoin, for example, right? So, and I'm just learning how insecure it is myself at the moment. I thought I used to know a lot about it, but I'm learning a bit more now. But Bitcoin is not. It's not private, right? Because you've got your address, you've got the sender's address and the receiver's address are all recorded on a public blockchain, which is viewable and traceable. And if I'm understanding correctly, they're able to take those addresses and able to chase them back to an actual IP address, which leads to Joe Soap's computer.
Absolutely, yeah, spot on. Yeah, everything that happens on the Bitcoin blockchain is transparent and open, and yes, your address will be and can be recorded. Yeah, and then that leads to the problem of that there can be tainted Bitcoins as well. Some Bitcoins that have been involved in illegal transactions have been recognised and through the exchanges that they're passing through, and some exchanges will actually stop that transaction and. You can lose funds as a result of that.
Yeah, you were telling me that yesterday. You can get Bitcoin, and it can have an history to it. So, can you not see that history beforehand before somebody pays you in Bitcoin, or do you sort of like, can you say, don't give me that dirty Bitcoin, give me some clean Bitcoin? So you can't really, right? Okay.
You can't, no.
See, that's a bit of a down, isn't it? It's a bit of a down. I mean, a £20 note's a £20 note. I mean, you have a £20 note in your pocket. Someone might have snorted cocaine on it. It might have been MP might have snorted cocaine on it at some point in its life. And when you've got it in your pocket, cash is the untraceable, isn't it? I mean, I don't get why fucking people. Well, I do get it because they try and nick everything, but yeah.
Well, even cash has serial numbers, Jay. Even cash has serial numbers, so it's even cash is traceable to a certain extent, like with the serial numbers, right?
You can't see that there's a dirty. You'd have to put a whole lot of shit into a computer to find out that a serial number on a note had come from some nefarious source, whereas nobody cares.
Yeah.
But this is automatically done. So whenever, but if people can't tell, I mean, what does it matter? If people can't tell when you're paying somebody something in Bitcoin, what does it matter? It don't matter at all, does it? If you can't tell when somebody's paying you that's a dirty Bitcoin, it don't fucking make a difference, find a bit of difference.
At the time of you're being paid, no, it doesn't. But if you try and pass that through an exchange that won't take it, then you suddenly realise that you haven't got something that you thought had that value.
Right. Okay. Got you.
So
right.
If you try then and exchange that for something, and then the exchange goes, then you're stuck.
So
yeah, because this actually
you buy from them, don't you?
Sorry, I didn't hear that.
Well, I mean, do you? If the don't matter. Go on, Jimmy. You were going to say something.
Yeah, well, no, what I was going to say, because this actually leads into an extremely important case which is going on just at the moment in the Southern District of New York, right? And now a case has been brought forward against a particular individual who has been accused of having something like 3.36 billion in cryptocurrency, and it's all being seized, right? And basically the story is that like he was involved with a particular company, right? Which was God, where was the what was the whole the scheme to defraud, right? It was through a company called Silk Road, which was an online darknet black market, and it was an operation from 2011 to 2013. Silk Road was used in numerous drug dealers and other unlawful vendors to distribute massive quantities of illegal drugs and other illicit goods and services to many buyers, and to launder all funds passing through it in 2015. Right. So this particular guy, I think his name is called Zhang, right? He had some scam going on where he was able to rip that criminal cartel off of a load of fucking coins. So what they've done is now they've come down on the guy who ripped off the cartel, and now they're seizing all his assets. Like, and I think the bottom line is that like you have to be so careful with these bitcoins, because if what I'm getting from it is, they have the means and ability to trace all the dodgy bitcoins. It looks like they have that ability, right? It's just a matter of like, is it worth going after you or not? Right. So if you're only holding 1 or 2 bitcoins, you might be all right. Like, but down the road, does that leave the door open that like that your bitcoins might get marked as unusable, and that links in directly to what Neil is saying, that like if you go into an exchange and you try to use your bitcoin and it's tainted, like, you know, you might find yourself holding a big bag of fluff, you know, and this is what I'm taking out of that case in New York.
Yeah, that's absolutely right. Yeah, it can and will be seized. I think I've got a slide on here. Sorry, I'll come to it anyway. Yeah, but it relates to that and to another case that's ongoing as well. Yeah.
Yeah, you're okay. Take your time, Neil.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, we are going to go cash. I mean, there's even talk of today. I've seen talk of the universal basic income, and that's going to be digital. I think that's probably the way we introduce digital. The universe, and you'll only be able to spend it on certain things. I don't know.
Certain things, yeah. Yeah, and it'll probably have it'll be time limited as well to how long you've got to spend it. I think, and that's the idea.
While you're doing that, I'll just read out some of these comments. We've got Mahatma Malevolence. Good evening, Mahatma. He says, she says. I don't know. I never know anybody's fucking pronouns or what sex they are or anything these days. I just don't know. They say, "Oh, you know what happened there?" There we go. They say Shropshire Council is set to go cashless from April next year. The measure will see cash removed from all transactions, including council tax payments, parking and theatre tickets. So the Shropshire Council are, I mean, these are more and more draconian. These are more and more of the things that we've been warning for years and years about. It's going to be cashless, that you won't be able to, and we see these zones that are popping up in, I think there's one in Oxford that's going to pop up, and one somewhere else, another posh place, where they've got these 15-minute zones where you've got to be in your little zone, wherever you live, wherever your base is. If you leave that for too long and go into another zone, you're going to be fined. And this is what's happening. This is just draconian stuff that's been rolled out, and people have seen bits and bobs of it. You know, perhaps see one thing and don't see other, and they don't put it all together. But yeah, cashless, that's certainly something that we must go against with everything. Newbean says, question, is the idea of crypto no transparency? Then what then when the powers that be take over? Now, again, that's another point in it, is the powers that be can manipulate just about anything. And I think after last year, I don't know whether that were manipulated or what, but there's a lot of people that lost a lot of money in crypto, haven't they, this last year?
I've even lost money. I've lost money in crypto, man. It's like I'm at the stage where I don't even fucking trust the goddamn thing. But I have good reason. I think I know why I don't trust it anymore, and it's down to the we'll get into that in a bit, like, you know, but I don't want to get too far ahead of Neil, so we don't want to lose. You might need to click that screen share back on when you're ready, Neil. By the way, I just put our three ugly. I just put our three ugly mugs back on screen while you were sorting that out.
No problem. No, thanks. So if I just click on.
Miss Blue Sky says regarding the cashless thing, sadly no choice as the government will force us too soon, like they are with us going cashless. Best choice is to keep learning about crypto and stay healthy. There we go. Learning about anything's fucking good anyway, isn't it? You're increasing your knowledge about anything. So, you know, hopefully we're learning something tonight.
Yeah. Well, I am actually interested in this Epic Cash because it does sound kind of interesting because of just the way it works. Because just you can't track it, like. But anyway, I don't want to get too far ahead of what Neil's talking about. So
it's okay. I'll just go back one again, just to recap. So, in the situation with Bitcoin, we have to find a node if we're going to actually use it as a currency. And we don't know who those nodes necessarily are, or they could be trusted, or what would happen there. So it's a layer of friction that we don't really need. So the ideal scenario would be if we were all our own nodes and we were running our own. Effectively, we're running the blockchain ourselves, and we are dealing our transaction deals directly with the blockchain, and then goes from one blockchain to another. So if you, Jimmy, had a copy of the blockchain and I had one, we could carry out a transaction between each other. I could send you Epic, and it's completely decentralized. There is no way it's going to be connected. It can't be stopped, can't be tracked, can't be traced.
Can we define a node here, for example, like just for people who don't know, Neil, because obviously. Yeah. If I'm understanding a node correctly, a node is somebody who has actually got a whole copy of the blockchain running on a particular device and is able to participate in the consensus algorithm, which says, yes, this is a valid. Would that be correct?
Better put than I could have, Jimmy. Yeah, that's beautiful.
Okay, right. Yeah, so I've learned something anyway.
Yeah. So you and I both running a copy of the blockchain. The problem is normally they're so big, and the ones that are keeping all of the data, the ones that are transparent, are getting bigger and bigger and bigger exponentially because of all that data, the extra data they have to store.
And of course, they get all the profits too, don't they, as well, in the process, because of the fact that they become so big and overbloated, because they've got so much computing power. It forces all the small people out, so that only the big guys can actually profit from it. Would that be a fair assessment?
Pass. I don't know, to be honest, because I've not looked at that. It's not something that I've had to really look at. So it wouldn't surprise me if that's really how it works, but I'm no expert on that because it doesn't apply to the areas I've looked at. But I'd have to get back to you on that. I'll have a look though. Yeah, I'll have a look.
I'm pretty sure I'm right, but don't worry about it.
Probably
yeah.
I've just I'm just going to your mic settings, Jimmy, just to bring it down a little bit. I think I've sussed it, so just let me know, everybody, if it's okay. But I think I've sussed it because it worked. It just weren't. Whenever you were taking it down a desk, it just weren't going down any. So I've just tried it from here. So.
Okay, that's grand, Jay. I got last I heard I was hunky dory. Last I heard.
Yeah, seemed fine. I can hear fine.
Yeah, cool. Anyway, sorted. Right, carry on.
So yeah, this is the ideal scenario, is to have everybody in the actual network running their own node. It's also a much stronger proposition as well in terms of security, because it's much harder to hack a system like that where everything's totally interconnected. If one node fails and one copy of the blockchain gets corrupted, it doesn't have much impact at all. And so even if 50% get knocked out, it's that the rest will still be functioning fine. And as soon as the corrupt nodes are corrected, everything comes back to be working perfectly happily. Whereas going back to the previous model, you can see how it would have much more impact if it's much easier to attack a system like that than it is
Let's clarify this a little. Let's clarify this just a little bit more, Neil. Right? Because just say you have 100 nodes on the network, right? Mm-hmm. They're all participating in the verification of all the transactions that are coming onto the network. Mm-hmm. So there's got to be a certain percentage of all the nodes on the network who have to agree that this is a valid. Yes. This is a valid transaction, right? Yeah. So what is it? 51%, 52%. Yeah. 51% of the nodes have to agree that the transaction is valid. Otherwise, it gets. What happens to it then? Is it just gets rejected, or what happens? Or
I think it's just you wouldn't be able to carry out the transaction. Yeah, it would just malfunction because one right. If one person might be. Like you say, there just would not be a consensus between the two nodes, so it wouldn't. The transaction wouldn't work.
Yeah. So these nodes are all participating in this sort of like the agreement procedures, like a handshake. Yes. Yeah. We got that record too. Each node is talking to each other, and they're all saying, yes, that's the information I got. It agrees with the stuff that's in my database, and yes, you can mark that transaction as valid. So eventually, eventually all the nodes on the network will agree. But it takes a bit of time, which is time is the factor in it. Like,
right, okay. So when it gets to 51%, then it approves the transaction.
If 51% of that system is operating, I mean, in most cases, all of it's going to be working fine anyway. But if in the scenario where the whole system was attacked, provided 51% of them were uncorrupted, then everything would be working fine.
Okay.
And the theory, though, is, Jay, that like in order to propagate a hack, you would need some serious computing power to keep up with all the nodes on the network, because there's many nodes on the network keeping track on the transactions. So in order to hack the network, you would have to have some major super duper computer from Mars, basically, to come in and sort of outcompete all the other computers who were busy and already ahead of you in the process. So that's the theory as far as I understand it, Jay.
Yeah, and that also ties in with what we're shooting for with Epic, in that we are limitless as regards scalability. So theoretically, everybody on the planet who has a mobile phone could have a node. The chances then of being able to perform an attack in every time zone simultaneously on everybody, 50% of the operating devices is pretty slim.
Unlikely actually, in my opinion, because even the Bitcoin network is fairly secure. I'm not sure it's perfect, but it's fairly secure. And they're operating on a limited number of nodes. So just imagine everybody with a mobile phone who was a node themselves. It would be very, very tricky, I think.
Yeah. And that's just the phones, all the PCs and everything else. And because it's such a small blockchain, it will fit on very small devices. And even several years down the line, allowing for the increases in performance of chips that will be in phones, we anticipate that there'll be ample capacity for phones of the future to be able to cope with, the sort of size of the blockchain that we'd be talking about then.
That's an interesting point from Sean Hammer. All forms of external abstract value create slavery because they serve to deny the only real value is life. Yeah, but the currency in a way is like a toy that we use just to, I suppose, we spice life up with it, and it doesn't matter. We could always opt for Uni's version of, maybe we could start going back to exchanging sticks.
Well, it's interesting because cowrie shells, stones, all sorts of things have been used, haven't they, as forms of currency in the
Fucking
past.
beat uni with a steak.
And in the way that you could consider this is a digital commodity. That's all that it is. It is a thing. It's in itself. It's not inherently evil or good. It's the intent that's put into it. So it's
and it doesn't even have value either, though, Neil, does it? Really, in essence, like I know, like it's been labelled as a proof of work idea, like, but really, does it have any value? Like at the end of the day, only outside of the value that we place on it, because like we might be able to use the damn thing,
Well, it's in your head, isn't it? You can't shelter yourself with
it. It does in terms of the amount of energy taken to produce each epic coin. That's the way that we look at it. Is that if epic is the product of, it's the solution to an algorithmic mathematical problem, the solution to that problem is one epic, and it's taken a certain amount of energy to produce that solution. Because a computer will need the same amount of energy no matter how it performs that function to get the right solution. So each unit will be the same, in just the same way that it takes roughly the same amount of energy to take iron ore out of the ground and produce an ounce of gold from that. The amount of energy, by and large, will be the same amount all the way around the world. So the same commodity is worth the same price. That's the way to look at it.
Yeah. That's a good point, actually, because when you think about it, like it does take a lot of energy to get gold out of the ground, and I know there's a lot of gold futures things, like this futures gold is like it's taken off now just at the moment, like which is gold which is still in the ground. But and there's only promises to get it out, like, but people are investing heavily into it, like, so we are talking. It's similar. They are alike, in a sense,
Yeah, it takes the same amount of energy anywhere on the planet to produce that same epic coin, and we can all reach the consensus that is a valid epic coin because the blockchain proves it so.
We've got a question from Spanish Chicken. He says, what is the current value of one epic coin?
It's just below 50 cents. I was
50
looking
cents. I haven't looked
on.
today, actually.
Look at that. I was checking out. I checked out the chart, man. I was having a look to see what the fuck. I have some questions about that chart, but that's for later.
Sure. Yeah, no problem.
50 cent, bro.
Yeah.
50 cent. Okay.
Yeah,
50 cent. Just a little bit short. A little bit short of 50 cent, Jay. Yeah.
Yeah, it's been ticking along around that for the past month or so, really. But let's say it's not something I look at.
What the fuck happened about a year ago? And what caused that pump and dump, man? That was like, No, look, I don't. Look, we'll get back to that. We'll get back to that. We'll get back to that.
So yeah, this is the sort of thing that I'm confronted with all the time. That they will ban it. It's never going to happen. It won't allow you to have it. It's going to be Ripple. A lot of people are fans of Ripple XRP and saying that that's going to be the one that will be adopted.
You stopped it. You're deluded.
Sorry.
You conveniently stopped when you got to Ripple, and then went, all right, and on next slide.
Sorry, no. I mean, these are the sort of things that get leveled at me all the time. That people just think that there's no chance. There's absolutely zero chance that they will allow us to have anything like this. But really, if you look at the efforts that have been taken so far to regulate the cryptocurrency space, it usually depends. They're usually focusing on labeling them as a security. That's what the SEC are trying to do, to try to label a lot of these things as securities rather than commodities. something called the Howey test that they apply to see whether something's a commodity or not. And Epic has passed with flying colours, but very few of the other coins have. And there's ongoing efforts. I'll come to that as well in a bit regarding certain blockchains that could easily fall foul of the SEC's regulations. So yeah, I just put that up just to illustrate that I think there's very few people who actually have faith that this would actually achieve something, a currency that we could use independently of the fiat monetary system and the debt-based system.
So we've got what's the total supply, and
the total supply of Epic?
Yeah, and what's the best exchange to buy Epic on?
Okay, yeah, the total supply will be 21 million. 21 million coins, the same as Bitcoin or Bitcoin Core, and it will have achieved the 21 million by 2028 full emission. And at the moment, the only exchange that we can buy on is Vitex. Actually, there is another exchange, but it's a few more hoops to jump through that you can get hold of Epic. But the best one to get hold of it is on Vitex.
Where's Vitex based, Neil?
China. They're Chinese.
Oh no! We have to deal with the enemy. Oh fuck! Oh, that's a bit worrying.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
What's going to be done about that?
No, well,
I'm not going to deal with China, man. No.
This is the thing. To get onto an exchange, if people say, "Oh, I don't touch any coins that aren't on Binance or some of the really big exchanges like Coinbase," to get onto these exchanges is a lot of money. You'd have to stump up tens of thousands of dollars to get anywhere near getting a listing on the exchanges. And we did that. That's part of the reason for the funny price action that you've seen in the chart so far. In December of last year, we were discussing as a community what we were going to do next, and the consensus there was that the best move for us would be to get onto a centralized exchange where people can buy Epic for dollars and pounds straight away without having to buy Bitcoin first, which unfortunately that's what we're having to do at the moment. So we had a whip round amongst the community, and we came up with the money ourselves, and it was not an inconsiderable amount. It was I think it was about $30,000 to get onto Bitmart exchange. Which after the research was done, that would seem to be the best one to go for us. And we went on. And because there was hardly any trade going on, we are a very low volume coin really at the moment. Hardly anybody knows about us, so it's a catch-22. So we're not doing much trade. And because we weren't doing much trade, and we had a market making bot in there that we had to pay for on the Bitmart exchange, the price gradually trickled down and down. And we decided, no, this is actually costing us money, and we're not getting anywhere at all. I mean, certainly not getting any attention. So we've pulled out of that again now.
Right, it was wasted money even trying to chase after. So how are you dealing with like getting the attention, or where is this coin marketed at? Or like, is this being marketed as kind of like a global currency, or are you thinking about more as a local, maybe working in a locality, or how do you see this panning out? Like,
it's peer-to-peer currency that can be used for just about anything at all. It can be used as a small business can decide to accept it. All they need to do. Sorry, that's the Telegram popping up. So you can a small business can decide all they need to do is have a wallet, and they can decide to take payment for their goods and services in Epic Cash. It's no different to accepting fiat in that sense. But so any business can accept it. From we're talking about small transactions to as large as you want. There's absolutely no limit to what it can do in that sense.
I did notice that you had a bit of interoperability between, say, Bitcoin, Ethereum, Litecoin, I think I noticed. Digibyte, I think, was another one I noticed, and so, but just for the cash, for the cash option, to allow people to be able to buy with just cash, you had to run with this Chinese company. Is that basically where you're stuck now? Is it?
You can buy Epic on Vitex Exchange, but only with anything. You could use any asset on there that Vitex run, because there's lots of other cryptocurrencies on there. So if you had other crypto that you wanted to use, Ethereum, then you could buy Epic on the Vitex Exchange. But otherwise, you can't buy Epic at the moment directly with fiat currency. You can't use pounds and dollars just to buy Epic yet.
Right. So, like, I suppose, like, if somebody was thinking about actually making an investment, you may actually lose, like, trying to get into it, like, because like you might need to buy something.
If Bitcoin was falling rapidly, you mean? If you bought some Bitcoin and the value of that was falling.
Yeah, but you're kind of hitting it. Yeah, exactly. Like, or like there may be discrepancies, so you may incur losses as a result, like of having to sort of like do 2 or 3 maybe transactions to get to the one, because like that's what you look. It looks like you have to do. There's no straight transaction format. Then you've got to go from one into one. Digital currency and then convert it into another, right? So obviously there's going to be losses, or you might actually gain even in the process, but
small amounts. That is down to the vagaries of what the value is of that in each individual coin on the day. But you could do.
Yeah. So, but you're kind of stuck, like you got no cash buy-in at the moment, basically.
No, unfortunately not at the moment. No.
Okay, right. That's good
it will
know.
come. It will come, because I think it's a catch-22 situation, because everybody will want a piece of the action when they see once they see the value going up, and as awareness increases and the value increases because they see the utility and the potential of what we have, then the other bigger exchanges will want a piece of that action, so they will approach us. We believe to become part of that. So they'll want to list us and so there'll be multiple avenues then.
So what's the user base like at the moment? How large is the user base? Like, how many people are actually using the coin for? Or like, do you have any sort of metrics on what's going on? Like, with are people hodling? Are people sort of like actually using it, exchanging with each other? What's going on?
The only trade that we can see back and forth is quite small on Vitex at the moment. I wouldn't be able to put a number on how many individual wallets there were. I can find that out. There's only a couple of thousand of us in the Telegram group, in the actual community. But we have. I think we have nodes in 22 countries, and certainly in the thousands of nodes. I'll be able to look that up and see exactly how many nodes we're running at the moment. But there are small businesses who are actually operating using Epic as a currency now.
Really? Are you at liberty to maybe spill the beans and give us some more about those businesses, or do you know? Or maybe you don't know. Maybe you don't know.
I can get to them too. Yeah, I can get. I could provide you a list, but they're places. They're not in this country that I know of at the moment.
No,
Turkey.
Just one or two.
There are
just one or two.
Some. There's a beauty therapist in Miami. There's a coffee shop. Right. There's several coffee shops in Turkey that are using it now. So
a drug dealer in Germany.
Not that I know of. It's possible. It's all anonymous. I wouldn't know.
No, you wouldn't, and there'd be no way to tell, of course, on the on your network, because, like, if I understand correctly, right now you're using some sort of thing called multi-sig, right? Now, multi-sig, people might not know, and I certainly am not an expert on it, but multi-sig is like a combination of two signatures. So you got these things called throwaway addresses, right? So you don't have a wallet, right? I want you to explain this shit to me. There's no wallet, and you've got throwaway addresses, and then that'll probably lead me into asking about what's going on with all this, because like there's information that you remove to keep your blockchain small, right? To keep the blockchain small, you're removing. What's been removed and what's been done with that data? Is it been thrown away, or has it been maybe put onto Jeffrey Epstein's sort of like private servers just for future use? What's going on with the removing of information off the blockchain? But that's enough questions for now. Multi-sig, the throwaway addresses, and what's going on with the redundant data that keeps your database small?
Okay. Yeah, there's a lot to unpack there, and some of that I'll be able to answer, and some of it does involve actually going into the way that Mimblewimble operates. Have you heard of Mimblewimble before?
They're not related to the Wombles now, in case people...
Apparently Mimblewimble is the name of a spell in Harry Potter. Don't ask me more than that about it, though. That's just why they chose the name.
Right.
And it's something to do with a spell that makes you unintelligible. I don't know more about that. It's something to do with jumbling up of words, but that's why they chose it for. That's why they chose it for the what is used as basically a protocol level in Epic, and it's a way of several transactions entering the blockchain at either end at once, and the same number of coins that come into the blockchain are the same number of coins that come out of the blockchain, but obviously you won't necessarily have received the same coin. There could be 20 transactions coming in and 20 going out. The same number of coins come into and exit the blockchain, and you will receive the ones that you are expecting to receive. But all of that jumbling up in the middle is all of the data that is lost, and also all that is visible to each other is the address that you're sending to, and the address that's actually receiving the coins. And that's the magic that happens. I can point you to Todd Lewis, the chief code writer at Epic, and he'll explain it in infinitely more detail than I'll be able to.
I understand what you're saying. So, right, basically you have your original blockchain information, right, and you transmit that, and it gets to it gets onto the server level somehow. Like, and next thing, Mimblewimble kicks in and does a little bit of jiggery pokery, adds a shit pile of data to it, and then transmits that out in the wild. It goes out on the wild, and then the computers at the receiving end strip off all the extra data that Mimblewimble shoved in, and all you're left with is the original data. Would that be correct?
That sounds about right to me. That's my understanding of it. Yeah, I think you're pretty close there. If not exactly word perfect, you've certainly got a very good handle on it. Yeah.
Right, so that's the redundant.
We have got a wallet. We do have wallets, and each one has a node. If you download the GUI wallet off the epic.tech website, you will find a wallet with a node installed. You can have a node installed in that wallet, or you can use your own remote node if you've already got one separately, because I already had one separately. So I've done it both ways, and it works fine both ways. And you can also send over Tor through the same wallet. We use something called ngrok. Are you familiar with ngrok at all? It's a tunneling piece of software that will allow you to get through your router on your that you've got in terms of if you've got your wallet on your computer, the transaction would get stuck at the router if it wasn't for ngrok. So we have to use a tunneling piece of software which will allow the transaction to come through to the wallet. So you just sign up and you get it. It's a simple thing to do. You sign up on ngrok.com and they give you a code, and you can import that into your wallet, and then it allows you a 2-hour window. But this is the other thing that we have to obey at the moment that will be fixed in the next edition of the wallet, is that in order for me to send you Epic through to your GUI wallet now, we would both have to be online at the same time. So we can't. There are no cold deposits at the moment, but that's something that we're fixing at the moment. Everything else working fine. So when you
so everybody has to be online at the same time, basically, or you're screwed.
Yeah, but that will be. You can send Epic. You can send Epic through something called the Stack Wallet, which is a mobile wallet. So if you wanted to send Epic to somebody who wasn't online, you could send to that person's Stack Wallet as well. So they wouldn't have to be online at that time. That would work fine. But if you wanted to send Epic from a native Epic wallet to another native Epic wallet at the moment, you both have to be online at the same time. Yeah.
Well, that was a close one, you know. I was a close one because that would have been a deal breaker for me. It's just like
yeah, absolutely. Yeah, we know there's lots of things that we know within the project that we need to, so that would be a deal breaker for a lot of people who are familiar with other crypto projects. They'd say, "Oh, you haven't got a decent mobile wallet yet, really, a native mobile wallet, and you haven't got this, and you're not on Binance, and you're not on all these other big places that we've heard of. So therefore, we won't trust you." And people don't look any further than that because they think that actually a lot of people are quite happy to let other experts tell them what to go for, what are the best projects, and they'll defer to them because it is a lot of learning to dig into some of these projects. It can be very daunting.
Someone's put here. In fact, I'm going to ask you this: how come? Oh, someone put up here. I can't fucking see it now. How many coins are already mined? It seems like there was some pre-mined or something like that. I'm fucking seeing it.
Yeah, how many are actually in circulation at the moment?
How many is in circulation?
How many is actually out at the moment?
All I know is by 2028 they'll all be in circulation. Yeah, that's all I know at the moment. But
and I'm just thinking where I'll find that out. I could.
And incidentally, they've timed it. I don't know how they've done this. How have they figured out that they can finish mining all their Epic coins by the time Bitcoin is done and have it all done at the same time? And still, that's weird.
I'm just I'm thinking about two things at once, and I'm trying to think of how I can find that out instantly for you. I'd have to get back to you, but I think it's something like 65% will have been mined so far. There's a halving next June. And there'll be there's a halving in the number that are actually emitted, so that the emission will go down as we get closer and closer to the point of singularity with Bitcoin, where we've both got the same number of coins out at the same time. But I'll have to get back to you. Sorry, it's not something that occurred to me to look up today, but I'll be able to find that out. I can find that out if I just put a shout into the Telegram group.
Don't worry about it.
With the figures
don't worry about it, Neil. It's just a number, and it'll be old news by the time you even got it out of your mouth. That was a good question from Mahat.
Mahatma, it is possible to do that. You can use an old laptop, and lots of people are doing that in a whole series of old laptops to mine with. Again, how much you will be able to mine depends on the processing power that you actually have in that laptop. And we have a mining algorithm that varies in terms of rewards. So at the moment it's running 48% of rewards to prog pow so that would be on graphics cards. So computers with GPUs would be able to mine on prog pow. You would mine on RandomX on a laptop, and so we're doing 48% of rewards to prog pow, 48% to CPU, and 4% to ASICs. So again, it just depends on how much processing power you have on the laptop, but it's not difficult to set up, and we have a Telegram mining channel that you can just join in with that as well, and everybody helps you out. I've mined here on my own computer, and if I can do it, anybody can, because I'm only an end user. I don't really know anything about coding or computers. I know how to run Windows, but I get flustered when I start to see anything other than that.
Yeah, Windows update, for example.
Yeah.
Chris Partridge says, what happens when they've mined all the 21 million coins?
We have a party. We'll go, we'll drink a few beers, man. We'll just chill out and just have a bit of fucking fun, you know?
Would there be a picture of somebody with last one mined, holding it, like, nothing?
Well, I mean, that won't occur for a long, long time. So, and as all the coins that are in existence, they will gradually become more valuable as well, because if they're in circulation.
I mean, 2028, though, that's not a very long time, is it? I mean, Blinker and I, 10 minutes ago, I were, disco dancing in my 20s. And now I'm sat here with one leg and can't even breathe and walk. It goes in Blinker and I. So 2028 is not very long at all.
No.
Don't forget these these coins are tomorrow. There's plenty to go around, isn't there? There's plenty of coins to go around.
Yeah. Okay. But I suppose it'll depend on usage, won't it? How many people are using it? See, I was lost ages ago. That's why I've left it to Jimmy, because I'm completely completely in dark about all this stuff. And if I ask questions, it probably sounds like when a woman asks a question about football. So I don't want to sound a bit daft. So that's why I've left it to Jimmy.
Well, no, Jason. I think in the current situation, your questions are probably more important than mine.
Absolutely, There's how many people really have looked into this? It's very, very few. Not many people.
How many people have actually understood one fucking word that I've said since I started? Right? What's the likelihood anybody understood maybe fucking 10 words? Because I kind of know where you're coming from, Neil, but unfortunately, people in the chat may not, and I think Jason's questions are probably more relevant, So
absolutely, yeah.
Well, they're not my questions; they're chat questions, because I really haven't a clue.
Can we focus then on the chat then, just for a bit, and maybe we're not leaving people fucking behind?
Yeah. No, the chat's fine. I mean, I've asked every question. I mean, they've been talking to each other and arguing, and then Spanish Chicken has been fucking asking the same question over and over and over and over again. He's like fucking using it. Yeah. Fucking layers, send an egg. He'll probably be on later on if you're hanging about afterwards, anybody. Just ask Jace, we are all in your boat. I don't get that. I don't get what that means. Not me, Jimmy. Right, there we go. Like I said, it's all. I mean, we can talk about it. It is, of course, it's all fiction and it's all fiat. But these things have a value in real world, don't they? Look, where are you going? Where are you going now? What else did you want to talk about with this?
Just before we go a little bit further, because this was brought up at the beginning, right? Now, it's very, very clear to me that there's going to be a push towards a centralized digital currency of some sorts, right? Now, do I still have that article from earlier on? There was a country in Africa, right, only recently, which, I think this is the story here. This was coming out of the internationalman.com, another big CBDC flop. Here's what really comes down. It's not what the elites hoped for, right? Now, they're talking about last year, Nigeria launched its much ballyhooed Naira, Africa's first central bank digital currency, so the central bank academics, politicians, and a consortium of elites from over 100 countries hoping to launch their own CBDCs have closed following the Naira. They used Nigeria, Africa's largest country by population and size of its economy as a petri dish to test their nefarious plans to use CBDCs to enslave. You can tell by the language of the article that it's a little bit sort of like, but like, that doesn't mean that like what they're not saying is like not relevant. Like the jury is now in. So the ENARIA has been a massive failure, right? So the ENARIA, which was like this CBDC that they were hoping everybody would adopt. So according to Bloomberg, only 1 in 200 Nigerians used the ENARIA. That's even after the government implemented discounts and other incentives as desperate measures to increase adoption. So, and then the next time it came as a surprise to the elites, right? And the next sentence, I think, sums up like the most important parts of it. Nigeria has one of the highest Bitcoin adoption rates in the world, ranking number 11 among all other countries. So, like, maybe I can throw it back there to Neil, and maybe you might have some more to add to that. Like, and because, like, clearly, right, there's they were trying to launch that ENARIA in Nigeria, and it failed miserably because people obviously must trust Bitcoin more than ENARIA, So I've been thinking about this over the last couple of days, like, what is the likelihood, that like people will maybe adopt some sort of consensus thing among each other, right? And say, look, we don't give a fuck what the central banks do. Let them run their CBDCs. We can use this shit in the fucking meantime. And I think we might be entering into some currency wars here, and maybe an ongoing currency war like the drug war that might go on for eternity, right? Where they'll be constantly trying to track down all these fucking pirates using fucking crypto technologies, and everybody fucking trying to keep one step ahead of the government and get out before they fucking get caught. I don't know. I don't know what's coming, man. But
yeah. Well, no, we don't, do we? I mean, this is. I got to looking at you looked at the Dollar Vigilante and Jeff Berwick and what he does over there. That's been his premise that the best way to avoid the CBDC, if you don't want to be stuck with it, then buy Monero and Pirate Chain, because they've been the two leaders in the field of privacy since. Well, certainly in recent years, there have been predecessors, and certain other coins like Zcash and Litecoin have privacy features, but from what I hear, they've not really been used. Only 1% of Zcash transactions are actually private, and most of them are just being exchanged on coins being exchanged on exchanges that is just being used as an asset, a speculative asset, to see how much profit you can make of it. They're not actually being used as cryptocurrencies. And you run into another set of problems with Monero and Pirate Chain, in the sense that they are both big blockchains. They are quite large. So you're either going to have to run a node yourself and actually run your own blockchain, and that's not always convenient, particularly if you're in a cash setting when you're out and about and wanting to use this in a business setting. You're not going to necessarily have the computing power available in your hand to be able to use these things like Monero and Pirate Chain, which is the other reason for saying, well, let's start from the aspect of, is it possible to have a currency that functions as a usable cash currency, completely decentralized from any other banking system? If it works, and it works well, and it's safe, and it maintains your privacy, then that it doesn't matter if they try and ban it, because it'll be used anyway. It's like saying, oh, there's a thriving market springing up in carrots or something like that.
Well,
we might decide that the carrots, drugs or tobacco or whatever it happens to be, that becomes another currency. If it's adopted and people believe in it, then great. And if it's monetarily sound, like we're aiming to do with Epic, then we don't think there's a reason why it can't achieve mass adoption.
So come here, are you saying that like Epic Cash has an advantage over Monero and Pirate Chain?
Several, yes, absolutely, yeah.
Really?
Yes,
so
because it's a currency. Yeah, but the pirate chain isn't really being used as a currency. And the other way of looking at it as well is if you were involved in nefarious activities, where's the first place that they're going to come and start looking? It's going to be for something that's waving a flag over it saying, I'm pirate chain. Whereas if we're starting from the premises of we're just a currency that happens to be private, we have the scalability, the fungibility, and all the rest that you would want in your currency to be used as a currency. But there might be billions of our transactions going on. How do you know where to look in the first place? If you were suspicious of some activity, you wouldn't even know where to start because of the scale that we envisage with it. And even when you get there, you're not going to find anything because there's no data left. So yes, we have considerable advantages. Portability, because it's so small. So we can use this phone to phone, which you couldn't do with Pirate Chain unless you were using a third party, actually going through a wallet that was being hosted by a third party. Then you have to trust that third party.
Yeah, there's a lot to unpack there. But you've touched now on one of the points that I was very, very interested in. When you sent your messages there on what was it? Was it Saturday, Friday?
I forget.
Saturday,
I think it was Friday.
Friday, yeah. You alluded to the fact that it was possible to use this outside of the internet.
Mm-hmm.
Can you explain the thought process there? Because I didn't see anything about that online on the website or anything.
Mm-hmm. So yeah, normally we'd be using the blockchain to send our transaction. But if that wasn't available and you came to me and said, look, can you send me a certain amount of Epic? I can still send that via something called file transfer. I can send you a file that you can import into your wallet, and the wallet will respond to that file, generate a response code. I insert that in my transaction, and boom, the wallets talk to each other. So the wallets will update, and I will say I was sending you 10 Epic, then that money, that Epic would.
It's two nodes talking to each other.
Yeah, the two nodes would talk to each other, but they might not be necessarily attached to the blockchain. You might not even say we were out in the sticks, and you might not have a connection for another week.
I get it.
But as soon as you get back into civilization again, then the blockchain updates and everything's happy. Yeah.
Right, I get it, man. I was trying to say, well, how the fuck does that work, right? It's like, perfect. Wow.
Yeah.
Because there's two nodes talking. There's a consensus between two nodes, and who's going to argue with them?
Yeah,
right.
Exactly. And because of the math, because of the way it's designed, it's impossible to mess up the number of coins. It'll work. Yeah. We're working on something. There was something in one of the chat groups as well. They're working on an emoji code as well, as a bit of a novelty. So I would send you a string of emojis, and you would respond with a string of emojis. So it wouldn't mean anything to anybody who intercepted the string of emojis, and yet it would work as the transaction when the two.
Oh, right. It's all
just
encoded.
another layer of privacy. Yeah.
Right. Yeah, because I think we can see the writings on the wall. I have a feeling that they're going to come down hard on cryptos. Come here. Let's just go back to Bitcoin first. Not good. Your man Satoshi, right? Come here. He's just fucking Department of Defense. He's a fucking shill, right? He doesn't exist, right? He's a construct, right? Come here. What's your thoughts on a lot of these fucking cryptocurrencies?
Yeah, I mean, I didn't get into crypto until a couple of years ago, so I've only heard of this myth of this guy called Satoshi Nakamoto. Where he's come from, who knows?
Where did he go? Where did he come
go
from?
to?
Sakamoto.
It wasn't one person. I know that the founder of Epic, Max, he has tried as far as possible to follow the spirit of what the white paper described as a peer-to-peer electronic cash, independent of any third party, basically. And so that was used as the model. The thought process was what would happen if Satoshi Nakamoto could start again to design Bitcoin using the technology that's available in 2019 rather than what was available to him way back when. So using the open source projects that were available, and speaking to all the engineers, which is the best combination to go for. And the decision was the other Mimblewimble was so revolutionary because it allowed this pruning of the chain, and which confers not just the portability in terms of size, but it confers the fungibility. That means that every single unit will remain the same, and you can't have tainted epic. So it confers not just the speed and the agility that you can get with a smaller blockchain, and the extra utility, but the fungibility is there as well.
So I got a bit of a chuckle out of what you said. The pruning of the chain. that was like an interesting sort of like almost like the person who came up with that term was like a horticulturalist in some shape or form, you know.
Somebody, we've got a couple of things here. I don't know. Where did I put? I put it in starred, I think. Sorry, Chris Partridge. Here's a couple of things. How do we know central banks aren't printing up dollars just to hoard huge amounts of crypto so that they can hedge their bets at a later date? That's Chris Partridge said that. Also, blah, blah, blah. No names. Sorry. This is for Robert. Evening, Robert. No names on the white paper, and no one knows who holds the pre-mined coins. What's this term, pre-mined coins, then?
Well, some coins are launched where they launch coins to venture capitalists, an initial coin offering where people, obviously the coin people want to attract funding so they can go on and join these exchanges that we were talking about and do fantastic things there. So a lot of times they will launch a coin having pre-mined a whole load of coins that they can sell to the venture capitalists for a certain price. So the venture capitalists get a bargain, and the asset will get the funding. But it's a swizz, because then when Joe Public comes in to start buying the coins, the price can be inflated astronomically. It's the pump and dump situation that we were talking about earlier on. We saw it happen with Dollar Vigilante. They promote a coin, they promote an asset, saying, "Oh, this is the next best thing." Our engineers have looked at all the tokenomics behind it. It's going to be fantastic. It's going to be really big. You need to get in fast, because if you get in early, you get the best deal. And but they have bought a lot of the pre-mined coins themselves, so that when the subscribers come along and say, "Oh, isn't it great? There's going to be a new coin pick. It's going to be fantastic, and we're getting in right at the start. We've got the inside information." But they quite often end up just buying something that dumps very, very quickly afterwards.
What are you doing, Jimmy?
I'm just lining up a little bit of. I'm just trying to line up a little bit to follow on from the pump and dump there, which I had gathered a little. But like, I don't want to. Sorry for interrupting, guys.
No, it's fine.
Carry on, Jay.
No, but yeah, so I think that's what the comment was alluding to. But with Epic didn't have any pre-mine; it was fair launched. Everybody, mainnet went live, and so that the doors were open for anybody to buy.
So right from the get-go. Pre-mined coins.
There were no pre-mined coins with Epic, no, and so everybody was able to. It was a fair launch, and that's one of the reasons why we won't be labelled as security. There was one thing that I was going to touch on if I've got time to. Can I just flick through my slides again just to get to?
Absolutely, absolutely.
Just one. Spanish Chicken says the Epic coin fulfills the 21 million in 2040, not 2026.
Yeah, sorry, we'll reach a state of singularity in 2028, which is the same number of coins as Bitcoin. In 2028, okay. Yeah. So we won't. That's right. Thank you for that. Yeah, we won't have fully rolled out because it'll just be dwindling away. There'll be smaller and smaller emissions every year. Yeah.
That's a great point. I did it quick because I noticed that earlier on, like, you know, and there was loads of dates going around, and I didn't spot that properly at the time. Well, that was well spotted by the chat member. Fucking hell.
Yeah, that was Spanish Chicken. Oh, it was
well done, Spanish.
Thank you. Yeah. So I'm only an amateur at this, really. It's just I thought it was so interesting. I should bring it through. There's lots of points here that I'll probably, when people in the community see that I've been on, they'll think, "Oh God, he's got it all completely wrong." So apologies to any members. They can put people right and answer any comments as well.
Yeah, well, we're not promoting anybody or encouraging anybody. We're just taking a look at a new technology, and it's all good. So let's not panic about it.
Yeah, it's something completely different. So I thought, well, you're not going to hear about this unless it comes from someone like me. So
yeah, so it would be on BBC.
No way.
Unlike fucking Sanders, the other Neil. Not. Did you like the title?
Yes, I did. Yeah, not that Neil. Yeah.
Neil with Neil, not that twat. So that's going to have to be your surname from now on, Neil.
Neil, not that twat. Right.
Neil Twatters. Tractors.
Oh, he loves it. He loves it.
This was something in the same nature that we were just talking about a case that's just concluded regarding an initial coin offering of something called Sparkster, which I'd never heard of, a token that was issued.
I've heard of them. I've heard of it. Yeah. That's what Sparks. Is that not related to XRP in some way, shape, or form?
XRP is based on Ethereum. As far as I know, I'm no expert on XRP, but as far as I know, it runs on Ethereum rails. So in that sense, this is connected, and I will touch on that as well because this case is important because it was from the SEC, and it has implications that they may declare anything that runs on Ethereum as a security.
Oh.
So if I spin down to the final two paragraphs on that, I can leave a link to that article without problem, but I couldn't figure out how to put the live web page up here. So but this is the last two paragraphs from that same article. ETH contributions were validated by a network of nodes on the Ethereum blockchain, which are clustered more densely in the United States. As a result, the transactions took place in the United States. The allegation seems to suggest the SEC is claiming that all transactions on Ethereum blockchain take place in the United States and thus are subject to US laws based on the location density of the validating, I should say, nodes. And if the SEC's theory of jurisdiction over Ethereum network is affirmed, this could set a precedent for other application services and projects, including NFTs. So all NFTs could be declared securities, subjecting them to regulations under the federal securities law. Moreover, the SEC may seek to use similar arguments to assert jurisdiction over transactions on other blockchains such as Cardano, Cosmos, Polkadot, Solana, and on and on and on, and XRP in that sense as well.
Yeah. I've been hearing some worrying talk about XRP, all right, but
this was one in a recent library tweet. P2P Contention Distribution Network announced its defeat against the SEC. And LBRY suggested the case would have a strong impact on Ripple and the entire crypto industry. The SEC's victory is likely to have significant repercussions for the Ripple case, as the agency will use the ruling to support its stance. So it looks as if the SEC are moving to declare anything that runs on Ethereum as a security.
That
which would
be
mean
big.
that they could. That would be huge. Yeah. So that's worth bearing in mind.
Yeah. So there is.
XRP. Sorry, Jimmy. I'm sorry to interrupt.
No. Carry on, Neil. Carry on.
I was just going to say this is the next slide to do with Ripple XRP. It's decentralized. This is from XRP's own page. The XRP ledger is decentralized, run by a global network of 150 plus validators. So again, that goes back to the point I was making before about decentralization. How do you know? The validators are nodes. These are the nodes. So if you're going to be using XRP as a currency, you don't really have any control over who those validators are, and they could choose to censor you or anything they wanted to. Really, they have power over the chain.
We've seen direct example of that, like in the recent shenanigans going on over in Canada with the Safe for the Truckers. Now, I don't know how organic the trucker movement was. It could all be a fucking setup, as far as I fucking know. Maybe it was like that. But look, we're just a couple of conspiracy theorists here, so and it's okay for us to talk about that. Like, but it seems to me, and this is all tying into the whole conversation over the last 5 minutes, was like there seems to be they're going to launch an attack on cryptocurrencies, and they're going to maybe try and put them in their place if they can. So I can see a lot of carnage coming in the next couple of years.
Yeah, entirely agree. Yeah, for those that aren't fully decentralized. Yeah.
Right. So these particular cases that you're showing us now are going to sort of like decide the fate of pretty much the majority of the ecosystem of the cryptocurrency sphere, depending on whether they're centralized or decentralized.
Yes. Yeah. Absolutely. Yeah. They have the power to close them down. Really. Yeah.
What's to stop them coming after a decentralized afterwards?
How would they do it? How would they stop Epic?
Yeah, that's a good question. Yeah, how could they stop it? Like,
we're working on, obviously, the next thing that we think about is quantum computing. We don't know what's around the corner in terms of quantum computing. What would be possible in terms of not just breaking codes and privacy algorithms, but quite what would be possible in terms of attacking the network. So I know that the engineers involved with Epic are hard at work countering that already. They've got something called dilithium crystals. Again, it just appeals to the Star Trek fans to call it something like that. They've got to call it dilithium crystals. But they're very excited about it. They say it's going to be absolutely groundbreaking.
Oh man.
But no, we don't know.
Come here. Here's the thing: like, quantum computers would appear to be a load of bullshit, right? And that they're never going to be like these magical devices which are going to be sort of like almost able to fucking procreate and fucking and shag your missus when you're not fucking looking, Quantum computing apparently is not all it's cracked up to be, and there's been loads of evidence to come out recently that suggests that quantum computing is a misnomer. It's overhyped, and it's just an investment fraud designed to create hype. And this came out from somebody in a very, very high end college. It may in England quite recently. It could have been Cambridge. I can't remember exactly, but your thoughts, Neil?
Oh, I haven't got a clue, Jimmy. I know people who you should be talking to, but I say what I know about quantum computing, I could write on a postage stamp. All I know is that when you start talking to the techie people within the project, they get very excited about it. So, but I know people who would love to have this conversation with you. Yeah, and I will hook you up.
Yeah,
because
you
you're scraping the tip of the iceberg tonight with me, and it is a huge thing. But you're not asking the right person at all. I know nothing about
it. Chris Partridge has got a good question here. He says, "What effect has the rise in energy prices had on the mining community?"
The miners themselves that I can only speak about Epic because that's all that I need to talk to these people, and we have far lower energy requirements because it is a smaller thing to mine. It's easier to mine Epic than the Bitcoin, but you don't need these huge great ASICs. They call them ASICs miners. These great big pieces of equipment that take a huge amount of energy, and you have great big warehouse fulls of them to mine Bitcoin. This is a much smaller operation. So I know that the miners who mine Epic, they just crack on and mine because I think they're mining several different things at a time. They've probably got multiple graphics cards all rigged up together, and they'll have some mining Epic and some mining other things. And I know that they sort of just produce a steady stream, and then they just sell what they produce. But obviously, it's going to make it's far less profitable, when price of energy is soaring, and when the value of the price of an Epic is down at 50 cents as well. It's a completely different proposition. If we get a pump and it goes to $10 or $20, then they'll be rubbing their hands, I'm sure.
And but there you go. But there's an interesting thing, and I might just patent this idea because you might make me money down the line. But I'd like to patent the idea that crypto miners should move to Russia, where energy appears to be cheaper at the moment.
Yeah, I think Kazakhstan, wasn't it? There used to be some huge great farms out there. They were mining.
Yeah. But then a big part of it also is in the cooling of the machinery, because you've got great big warehouses full of GPUs, which are graphics cards for anybody who doesn't know, but basically graphics cards units all stacked up into a big crazy matrix, and the amount of cooling. So a lot of people will tend to set up these farms in colder places like Alaska or places where it's actually quite cool anyway. It does cut down on the bills. So maybe a lot. The North Pole, but
I think if you were serious about it, I hadn't figured out how much it would all cost, but you could easily set up a solar powered rig here that you could mine Epic with as well. I'm pretty sure.
Yeah, let's talk about the mining of it, because if I'm getting this, because we're running out of time, and apparently Epic is going to be possible to mine this thing on your goddamn phone if everything keeps going as well as it's going, So maybe I'll let you go on that, Neil, and explain that bit of it.
Relatively soon. We never pin each other down to committing to dates of when things were going to be ready, because it only leads to disappointment when they're not. So we try to stick to a roadmap of where we're going, and it's sort of slated for either Q4 this year or Q1 of next year, when mobile mining will be a thing. Again, we can't really predict on sort of what amount you'd be able to mine on a phone. It wouldn't be an awful lot, but it certainly will be possible to do on a mobile phone. Yeah.
Shit,
I've mined on a gaming setup that I have here. I haven't mined recently, again, because I worked out that it wasn't cost effective when the price is down at 50 cents. But I got sort of 30-40 coins in a week of mining.
Even in the downturn. Yes. Yeah. Really? Okay. So it may well, for those of us who just want to fucking mess around with it, because if I'm understanding correctly, right, all you got to do is download the source code and install the damn thing on your machine, and there you go. Next thing you know, you're a fucking miner. Is that right? Is it? Is it as simple as?
There is a mining client to download. If anybody's interested, I can just leave the Telegram address here and just talk to the miners there. They'll have you up and running running really quickly. Yeah.
Yeah, you have to bring your own pick now. Bring your own pick and shovel now. You know, none of these fucking come by nightly fucking miners. You know, like none of these fake miners now. Thanks. Just.
Oh dear, fucking me, man. And don't forget your own sandwiches as well. You need to take your sandwiches down. You're down there mining without no sandwiches. Have you found any epics yet? Well, one or two. Don't forget, they're only 15, you know. They're only little. Don't hurt them. Anyway, for me, this has been a bit like I felt a bit like, you know, that skinny bloke who looks like he's got AIDS on Dragon's Den. You know what I mean? I feel like him. I feel like this has been like an episode of Dragon's Den. Jimmy's been one of the dragons, and you've been one of one of the people coming in with trying to pitch an idea. It's certainly been interesting. Anything else you want to get out before we're done? Give us the websites people need to go to.
I put it into the chat earlier on. I'll do it again now. All right, and. It's epic.tech. It should be in there now. Epic.tech. There you go. And that's gone straight to the white paper, actually. So there you go.
Yeah.
Smelly man. Yeah. Right. Yeah. So it's epic.tech. Anything else you want to say before we go, Neil?
Just have a look. If you're interested, have a look at some of the videos on my YouTube channel, which is Epic Rising. And there's lots of clips from other people speaking about the project, and you'll pick it up as you go. And if anybody wants to get in touch with me, then just drop a message in the Telegram group, either the Raconteurs one, or find me on Telegram. There's Epic Rising.
There you go. T.me / all that shit, and it's Raconteurs News if you can find that on there. And that's been it. That's it. It's 2 hours is up, and Tuesday night is done. We're at an end. Cheers, Jimmy, mate.
Yeah,
nice
cheers. Good. You too, bro. Thanks, Neil. Good, interesting. We'll have you on again, man. I'm sure.
Thanks. Yeah, I'd like to. Yeah, I'm happy to come on anytime you want me. Yeah, I haven't had any rotten tomatoes hit me during the broadcast from the chat room, but I haven't really been looking at it that much. So, apologies to anybody who have bored Rigid and all the rest of it. But there's lots more to cover on this that I haven't really had a chance to go through. But thanks anyway.
Excellent. Well, thanks to everybody who's been in the chat room and the people who've been listening who've not been in the chat room. And I've popped the StreamYard link in for the after chat. So anybody wants to come in the after chat, have up to 10 people. I don't know how long I'm going to be knocking about, but if you want to come in. I understand Jimmy's more, not Jimmy, but Robert is more, he gets more popular. He got a full one other night, you know, he got full 10. I can't believe it. I couldn't even get on myself. I couldn't even get on my own platform. It was full.
No way, man.
See you all in after chat. Thanks to Neil, and thanks to you, Jimmy. And I'll see you again on Friday. Yeah, Friday. It's Tuesday, isn't it? Yeah, Friday. See you Friday night. Take it easy, everyone.